Howdy, howdy.
Well-oiled machine around.
On into the pre-show before the pre-show. It's not like we haven't been sitting in here for the past 30 minutes.
Yeah, talking about brunch and the zoo and just all sorts of fun stuff. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the pre-show before the free show. This is what you guys tune in for early, specifically for.
It was all very important stuff.
Hi, everybody. Welcome
so much
in.
so that Ish didn't get lunch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you were extremely rude. So you essentially told Ish, you were like, I have something extremely urgent to ask you as soon as you get in.
Yes.
And so Ish comes running in. I mean, sweating. It's very clear he's been sprinting up the stairs, and he bursts into the studio and he goes, I'm here. What do you need? And you replied, do you want to go to the zoo on Saturday?
I mean, he said yes, so I got my answer. I gotta buy tickets. It was an urgent matter. I really thought at this point he could tell when I was, like, joking.
Obviously not.
That's on him. I feel like you would be able to tell if I was joking about an important matter. You would just say, okay, call me. Like. Yeah.
I know that if you call me,
and I called him Schmail, so that should be a pretty
Schmail.
That's a pretty good.
What a disrespectful thing to call someone.
He calls Mallory Ori, because he didn't want to call her Mal.
Call her Lori.
Yeah, but that's like an actual name.
I guess that's true. I don't know. I thought that was extremely rude.
He should have been able to tell I was joking.
I think that's on you. Yeah.
Anyway. Zoo on Saturday.
I don't necessarily have a pre-show topic unless.
What's your favorite animal?
Oh, at the zoo? Yeah, we went to the zoo maybe a year ago.
I remember
something
that.
Like that. We went to the zoo with our friends before they moved to St. Louis, and had a great time. My favorite animal has always been the penguin.
That's a solid animal.
From the word go. I've been a big penguin fan, which is why I'm very pleased that, and I didn't get it for him, but Hank's favorite stuffed animal is a penguin whose name is Waddy.
Because he waddles?
He waddles.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, his name's Waddy.
I had a bear named Bear. I have a bear named Bear.
You have a bear named Bear.
Yeah, I was creative.
Mine was
Unlike Hank.
Mine was a stuffed Ernie from Sesame Street, and so his name was, of course, Bill.
Ernie.
Yeah, I had stuffed Ernie. Yeah, I like the penguin. The penguins are cool, but the penguin we also went to the zoo in St. Louis, and this is in 2021.
St. Louis has a pretty decent zoo.
It's got a good zoo. It's a free zoo.
Oh, wow.
Free, which is great. And it's in Forest Park, which is their big, kind of their version of Central Park.
Mm-hmm. Central Park in St. Louis, exact same thing.
Right. It's very nice. It's where my wife and I got married.
Oh, nice.
Well, we got our wedding reception was there. We got married in a church. Because,
Catholics back on top.
And we made everybody go through the full mass.
Oh, God, mean. All due respects to Catholics.
A
lot of my family was Catholic. Catholic weddings. Oh, Lord.
Lock in. Hour 15.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we
especially if you have kids. A lot of people don't want kids at weddings. If you're going to do a Catholic wedding, that might be the play, because an hour and 15-minute mass
tough.
with little kids. Like, imagine taking Hank. You wouldn't take Hank and Max.
Tough. Yeah. But shout out to my my friend who's Hank's Uncle Rob, to fake uncle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I have those.
Uncle Rob, who was, I believe, the only member of the tribe who was there, the only Jewish guy there, and this is not because I promise you, it's not because he's Jewish, but like my father-in-law, because he's a smart guy. Yeah. My father-in-law went up to him and said, "Hey, let me ask you a question. Can you run the video camera during the wedding?" Stuff like that. So Rob was our videographer, which saved
Jewish Rob, the
which
videographer.
saved him doing the dance. Like saved him doing the stand-up, sit down.
He thought it was
great. Yeah. So shout out Rob. And yeah. So we but anyway, we went to the zoo at in St. Louis, Forest Park, and they had a penguin house. They have a house, like an indoor thing for penguins. And we went in there, and of course it's cold because penguins. But we walk in, and this is right when Hank is really starting to get that personality. Mm-hmm. He's like, turns to his mom, and he goes, "Mommy, it smells really bad in here."
Facts.
And it did. Smelled like
pretty bad.
Penguin turds.
Yeah. We went. I'm sure you're actually probably familiar with this. Have you? This is a dumb question. Have you been to the Atlanta Aquarium?
Boy, I'm sure we did. I don't remember it though, because we did live in Atlanta for 6 years.
Because if you haven't been in the Atlanta Aquarium, I know for a fact it's the biggest one in the U.S. It's pushing one of the biggest ones in the world, I believe. They've got 2 different whale sharks. You know how big whale sharks are? Anyway, aquarium freaking rocks. It's awesome.
Dallas Aquarium's pretty cool too. Dallas World
I haven't
Aquarium.
been to that one either.
Oh, it's great. It is an aquarium, but it's more like indoor jungle than it is aquarium.
Oh, nice.
It's great. The Dallas World Aquarium's great.
But the Atlanta Aquarium they have another whole penguin sector. But they actually had a little thing where you could kind of veer off the normal path, and there was like a little tunnel you could crawl through, and then you come up, and it's like a little, like a 2-person sized dome, and so the penguins are walking literally eye level, like straight by you, and sometimes they'll kind of like hit the glass a little bit. That was cool. I was like staring this penguin in the eye. We almost fought, but it was okay.
Like he challenged you.
Yeah. He was giving me those eyes, and I was like, "Are you trying to get your butt whooped today?"
The only museum I remember going to in Atlanta when we lived there was the World of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Which is dope.
Yeah. We didn't go through the museum, but we walked around that whole little plaza that it's in.
Very cool.
Anyway, we'll have a zoo recap for you after.
Can't wait.
After the weekend.
Monday, tune in to the pre-show for a full zoo recap.
We're excited.
We might even have Mallory on.
Well, yeah, we can do that.
Why'd you say it like that?
We were gonna do that for WTF next week.
What, zoo recap?
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, never mind. I won't steal your content.
It's fine. We can give like the teaser.
I know you guys are hurting for content over there.
Always, yeah. The two of us can't talk at all for an extended period of time.
Theme Expo. Pickle! Hit the arrow sign. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live, texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all the places, or listen to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part. Support local, mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She is the Duchess of the Dorks. She's Miss 305. She's Ashley Pickle.
Howdy.
Hi.
We need to build the Atlanta Aquarium and invoice because we're getting them business over here.
Oh, yeah, people are like, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We've got people supporting the fact that the Atlanta Aquarium is dope.
There you go. Today is Thursday, January 5th, 2023, 322 days till Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Dead Mouse. And here to play America's favorite game, older or younger than Tepper, Dead Mouse, the famous DJ, electronic, dance, and house DJ.
If you're younger than Dead Mouse, I would be surprised. I'm going to say he's older than you.
Dead Mouse is 42 years old today.
Yeah.
Happy 42nd birthday to Dead Mouse. It's episode 1519. On today's show, folks, we are going to talk a little bit about the national championship. We're going to talk specifically about, and we'll be kind of covering it over the next couple of shows leading up to Monday's big game for TCU. We're going to be talking about the 3 Georgia players that TCU must deal with, must stop in the national championship if they're going to bring it home. We'll talk about that. And then back half the show, it's the off season, so it's time for Dumb Thursday.
Dumb Thursday.
On Dumb Thursday, we're going to ask a dumb question. We'll have that dumb question coming up for you at the back half of the show. It is football related, I should say. It's a dumb football related question, we should say. We'll have Math Tuesday.
Wait till May rolls around.
Well, Math Tuesday and Dumb Thursday.
Dumb Thursday.
Dumb Thursday. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Nick Morton, Tony Blaylock, Tanner Solis. I'm going to assume that's T Solis 979.
Maybe. I don't know. Could be Truck Solis.
This is, yep. And Daniel Agnew. Welcome in, fellas. And possibly lady fellas. And possibly vehicles.
What if it's Tamra Solis?
It could be. Shout out Tamra.
Yeah. We're going to fight the patriarchy here. All right, Pickle. Let's talk a little bit about the national championship game. The college football national championship game going on Monday, the 2023 college football playoff national championship game. And for the first time since 2010, a Texas team will be participating. That's right. In the first time in the playoff era, it will be the TCU Horned Frogs making their first ever trip to the national championship game, taking on the defending national champion, Georgia Bulldogs. And we mentioned this yesterday with Greg Powers, and we'll continue to mention it. It is pretty clear that TCU's...
Oh, come on.
It's pretty clear that TCU's an underdog in this game.
Yes.
At least according to Vegas and according to the people. Now,
the population.
It opened at 13.5.
Mm-hmm.
It has steamed down to 12.5.
Mattress Mac put down like 3.5 on TCU when it was 13.
Let me tell you this. I think because generally speaking, with big events like this, with big events like the national championship game, like the Super Bowl, like the NBA Finals, things like that, big singular events, the sharp money comes in late. And what I mean by that are like the professional bettors and the big time people who are like, do this for a living. That money comes in late. And I got to be honest. I think it's going to favor Georgia. And I think that there are sharps in Vegas who are looking at this steam down to 12.5 to 12 maybe, and they're going, "Oh boy, I'm about to get a discount." Because I think that the general consensus is that 13.5 to 14 was about right.
Yep.
That Georgia's a pretty clear favorite in this game. But TCU's been an underdog multiple times this year. They were an underdog against Texas, I believe. They were underdogs. I don't know I would need to go back and check the line on Oklahoma. I wonder if they were underdogs in that game, which obviously didn't age well because Oklahoma was garbage.
I think they were an underdog against Oklahoma State.
Might have been an underdog against Kansas State too.
Yeah.
But they've been underdogs. They were obvious underdogs last week in the college football national semifinal against Michigan. They've been underdogs before. But perhaps you don't know a ton about the Georgia Bulldogs because, the SEC team in Texas didn't play them. Texas A&M didn't play Georgia this year. So we haven't talked a ton about Georgia this year. And so if you are looking at the game on Monday and you need to know who TCU needs to be worried about, that's why we're here. Now, let me be very clear. Obviously, they should pay attention to the quarterback, to Stetson Bennett, who
seems normal.
Very solid. Very solid, although he threw a pretty horrific interception in their title game, or in their semifinal win over Ohio State, but what led a fantastic drive to essentially to win the game there in the final minutes. And he's very good. Very, very good. I didn't want to put him on this list because, of course you should pay attention to Stetson Bennett and make sure he doesn't beat you. But all of that is to say, I have got 3 players that TCU absolutely has to deal with if they're going to win the national championship. Okay? 3 players. We will start with tight end Brock Bowers. Are you familiar with Brock Bowers?
Yes.
You are?
I watch their game.
Okay, so yeah.
I wouldn't say that I could tell you his stat line, but I can say I know he makes an impact.
Brock Bowers is one of 2 absolute monsters at tight end that they have.
Yes.
They've got 2.
And
Brock
they
Bowers,
use them a lot.
Darnell Washington's the other. Now, Darnell Washington went out of the semifinal game with an injury. We do not know his status.
Was it ankle?
Looked like it. Now, we don't know his status for this national championship game, but whether or not he's out there, Brock Bowers is really, really important to what they do. Brock Bowers is fundamentally a slot receiver who's 6'4", 230.
Yep.
Like this guy is a monster out there, and he is for a team that they do throw the ball fairly well. This is their go-to guy in big situations. When they need a big catch, they go to him.
Well, and we talked about it yesterday too, that the TCU defensive front is fine. Their strength of the defense is in their secondary,
Correct.
which obviously helps with this, but Bowers is so big that when he does get past the line of scrimmage and make the catch, it gets dangerous.
He is also, the other thing is, and especially the other thing with Darnell Washington, he is like a sixth offensive lineman for them. He is an outstanding blocker. He's an outstanding pass blocker or an outstanding blocker. Both of them are outstanding blockers. Both of them are stars. But Brock Bowers is a freak show. Brock Bowers is probably their most remarkable player, is what I mean. And he is stunning to watch. And so TCU has got to find an answer for him, and they move him around so much to try to get him mismatches on linebackers, on nickelbacks, on guys that they feel like they can exploit. And so TCU has got to have an answer for Brock Bowers if they're going to win this game. For the next one, I want to go over to the defensive side, and I want to talk about defensive lineman Jalen Carter.
He's a big boy.
The Georgia front is, in my opinion,
the Great Wall of China.
it's their strength.
Yeah.
Their secondary, I think, can be had, and I think you saw that with Ohio State. Ohio State was able to move the ball through the air a little bit, but this is their alpha dog defensively.
It's the opposite of the TCU defense.
Jalen Carter is their star out there, and he is a guy who makes a lot of hay out there. And what I mean by that is he's 6'3", 300. Okay? 6'3", 300 at the defensive tackle spot. He is not going to have 18 tackles in this game. If he does, things have gone really wrong. Jalen Carter is not going to have 5 sacks in this game. But Jalen Carter in the middle of that defense is disruptive. And he is the guy who blows up blocks. He's a block destroyer. And he blows up what you want to do in the running game. It is going to be up to the interior of this TCU offensive line to deal with Jalen Carter, because he is a monster out there. Now, they've got other guys that are good, that are the sack merchants, right? They've got Mykel Williams, who's been great for them. Jamon Dumas-Johnson has been really good for them, etc. Nolan Smith. But really where they make their hay is in the middle of that defense, because Jalen Carter is a star up front. They're going to have to make him... They're going to have to neutralize him in the middle of that defense if they want to get that running game going. We don't know the status of Kendre Miller, but even if it's Amari DiMarcado, they still feel pretty good about running the ball. What Ohio State did was, because the pass rush and the bull rush and the guys that they've got are so dangerous, the front for Georgia is so dangerous, they really moved the pocket for C.J. Stroud. They let C.J. Stroud get out, move the pocket, and run the ball a little bit. Not necessarily to tuck it and run, but just to move the pocket. Max Duggan can do that, and I think they're going to have to do that against this ferocious front seven led by Jalen Carter at the big defensive tackle spot. And finally, let's give a little love. Give a little love to the
offensive linemen deserve more love.
Let's talk a little bit about the offensive line. Let's talk about the star of this offensive line, which is Warren McClendon. Warren McClendon, for Georgia, is the very clear star of this offensive line. He's the right tackle for Georgia, and he has been fantastic for them. Absolutely fantastic. A team captain, all SEC. He is the alpha dog on that offensive line. But in many ways, he's the leader of that offensive line, and really what he is he is reflective of everything that Georgia wants to do. Georgia is going to run a fair amount of counter, where they're going to pull guys like Warren McClendon. They're going to run a fair amount of just quick stunts with their offensive line, and especially if they're able to have Washington, Darnell Washington, the big tight end out there, then they're going to use him alongside Warren McClendon to open up some space for them. This offensive line for Georgia is excellent.
Yes.
It's excellent. And if you are TCU, you've got to do what you did against Michigan, which is use your 3-3 defense, fire off a bunch of weird blitzes so they don't know where you're coming from, and disrupt the running game. The running game for Georgia is probably, it's strange to say, it's probably not as good as Michigan's. At least it's not as star-studded. But Kenny McIntosh and DeJuan Edwards, they can go. And by the way, Stetson Bennett can run the ball a bit as well.
I was just fixing to say that's where I see the biggest issues coming, because Stetson Bennett will blast you on the outside, but he was not scared to punch that thing up the middle.
He'll tuck it and run. I think that the Georgia offensive line is better than the Michigan offensive line. And I also think that they are going to have a better idea of the scheme. They have faced a 3-3 before. They faced Mississippi State, and Kirby Smart mentioned that in his press conference yesterday. They have faced a 3-3 before. How they handle it and how they put guys like Warren McClendon in tough situations is going to be important. Remember, this is a TCU team that had 13 tackles for loss against Michigan. They will need a similar performance from their defense, getting into the backfield and being disruptive if they're going to bring home a national championship. So there they are, 3 players from Georgia that TCU must stop if they're going to win the 2023 national championship. Of course, we'll have complete coverage for you at TexasFootball.com. We're Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. And now, a word from our friends at VCR Now.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
All right, Pickle.
What? Did something flash up?
Yeah, just for a minute. All right, Pickle. It's the off-season. And in the off-season, we like to have these kind of tentpole segments throughout the course of the week. For example, we'll do headlines on Monday. This Week in Recruiting will still be around on Wednesday. So we're going to do Mailbag Friday. Tuesday will be Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
But on Thursday, it's Dumb Thursday.
Dumb Thursday.
On Dumb Thursday is when we ask a dumb question, and we just kind of kick it around for a while. And the dumb question this time, Pickle, I don't know if it's a dumb question. Maybe it's not. Maybe I accidentally came up with a great question.
It's a pretty good question.
Did Dallas-Fort Worth pass Houston as king of Texas high school football in 2022? So I want you to look at we're going to focus on the top 2 classifications, because that's normally where you see DFW versus Houston.
Yes.
Top 2 classifications. We only had, first of all, DFW swept the top four divisions in the top 2 classifications. Duncanville, DeSoto, Aledo, and South Oak Cliff, all winners.
3 of which are all in the 20-mile radius.
3 of which are firmly DFW. Aledo, your mileage may vary, but we count them as DFW, right? Parker County. Do you know the last? But of note, there was only one Houston team here, North Shore, and of course Houston got shut out of the state championships as far as that's concerned.
And I think we can all agree that North Shore has been the main contributor to carrying the flag for Houston.
Yes, they absolutely have.
Recent
of course,
history.
They've won. Yeah, they won 3 of the last
4,
etc. But then think back, it's not just them, because remember back in, for example, 2020, and I know 2020 feels like...
Let's not flashback.
Katie and Crosby were both in the title game, right? 2019, North Shore, Shadow Creek, Fort Bend Marshall. 2018, North Shore, Shadow Creek, Fort Bend Marshall. 2017, Cy Fair, Manville, right? You had a couple of them. 2016 is the last time there was only one Houston team. That's when the Woodlands was there. They lost to Lake Travis. Everyone else was from outside of the Houston area. It feels like a long time ago since 2015. 2015, if you remember, Houston won 3 of the top 4. Won all the 3 biggest ones. North Shore beat Westlake, Katy beat Lake Travis, and George Ranch beat Mansfield Lake Ridge. The past couple of years, I think that there has been a reasonable debate between DFW versus Houston as far as where the power nexus lies. Obviously, Westlake has been fantastic as well. Nobody's debating that, but it's been only them essentially from the Austin area. They've been, Vandergrift made it the title game this year, but they were the only Austin area team from Wimberley kind of counts too, but we're talking the top 2 classifications. My question for you, Pickle, was this the year that DFW passed Houston as the head of the table in Texas high school football?
I mean, yeah, from an overall perspective, it's a very healthy debate. I will say, if you want factual evidence, the answer to this is if you're looking at 2022 in a singular bubble, then yes, it is. I mean, you cannot deny the fact that happened.
I mean, I want you to think about the fact, and this is obviously kind of expanding the scope here. There were more teams from the Brazos Valley that made the championship game than there were from Houston. Okay? College Station and Franklin versus just North Shore. That's pretty remarkable. The other thing is, I think it's two-sided coin, because we can talk a lot about, Houston didn't make it. I mean, Katy got upset by Vandergrift, right? Teams from the Houston area that we thought were going to be in the mix never materialized. District 10-5A Division 1 didn't make it here, right? The Richmond Foster kind of the Angleton district didn't make it here. But there's also another side to it, which is that DFW did sweep whoever they did see in that as well. So there's another side to it as well.
I was going to say, too, the other thing, and this was very evident, we had hired our good buddy Josh Mank to do some of our freelance work at State, and he put together this little graphic design map of showing what the champions were. And you want to take it even a step further there. Region 1 and Region 2 won every single game except for one.
Yeah, except for Franklin over Brock.
Except for Franklin over Brock. And so I wouldn't just say, obviously we're talking just about Houston right now, but that was the entire trend of 2022. And I know that the easy way to bring up another debate about this question is people are going to say, well, that's because they have the state championships at AT&T Stadium every single year.
We'll get into that another time.
And I'm sure that we will, but the other side of it is it would be different if we had every single matchup in the state championship game being DFW and being Houston.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. If you want to talk about DFW passing Houston, it's because DFW played in the state championship games, all 4 of them. One from Houston did. So I think that that's why it proves that it's the answer to yes, and you can't use the stadium as a reason to blame that happening.
We're not talking about the results of the title game necessarily. We're talking about the finalists just making it there. And that, I think, is really remarkable. To find the last time that one region won all 4 state championships in the 2 large classifications. You got to go back to 2014. Allen, Cedar Hill, Aledo, and Ennis. But then we had Cy Ranch and Katy in there, both 6A. You had 2 Houston teams. Mm-hmm. I'm not ready to declare the war over.
No.
Because I think that I think it's possible this is a 1-year aberration. Normally we have 2 to 3 Houston teams there, and normally we have 3, usually probably an average of 3 DFW teams there, right? Because there's more of them. I'm not ready to declare it a trend necessarily. But I do think that for 2022, there's no doubt that DFW at the large school classification or the largest classifications was the dominant area of Texas high school football. That's not really it's a results-oriented business, and all the results were there.
Well, and I think too that another easy statistical way to prove it, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but if you take a look at the recruiting class, we talked about how good the class of 2023 is. A lot of those recruits came up from the DFW area, which means that
break that down.
DFW programs in and of itself were a lot more experienced. I think that there are quite a few Houston teams that the reason we can't declare the war over that were a year short, a year early. They've got younger rosters than what DFW had, and maybe experience kind of plays into that too. We'll see how the tides switch, but I think if you want to just point to the facts and point to the numbers, you can't deny that DFW surpassed them in 2022.
I think that's right. I think that it depends on your scope. If your scope is a 1-year scope, then yeah, DFW won 2022. That's not really, I don't think, a real argument. Actually, if you want to expand out, who really won 2022 was the Big Country.
Yes. 110%.
Big Country had a great year. If you just expand out.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the largest classifications, DFW won 2022. But I do think that that doesn't necessarily portend that next year is going to be some sort of different. It's going to be totally different, or it's going to be the same. I don't think that this is necessarily predictive of what we will see in the future.
No,
but it is noteworthy. It's noteworthy, and it's worth kicking around here on Dumb Thursday.
Dumb Thursday.
Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
Someone asked a question, and I think it is a good question, so I will ask it for final thoughts. It was, should Texas football pick up instant replay after the second round of the playoffs? And here, the logistical answer was given on here. So many stadiums just don't have the capacity to be able to do that.
So after the second round.
After the second round.
So we're talking, it's 196 games? No. 104, something like that.
And that's the thing, is there's a lot of 6A stadiums that could do that. They have the capability to do it. But you have to also think, if 6A is going to have replay, then 1A has to have replay. And they don't have the capacity. So there's a logistical reason.
I know this is a football show. Y'all, they can't even get a shot clock in high school basketball.
Yeah.
Okay? And that is a far less technological lift than instant replay in football. So, would I love it? Yeah, because ultimately that's and you talk with TASO, the officiating organization, they love it in the state championship because they want to get the call right.
Right.
But it is logistically, and especially the way that the UIL operates, they're not going to have it for Allen versus Duncanville. I'm picking 2 teams at random. They're not going to have it for Westlake versus North Shore,
and not have it for May and Westbrook.
Not have it for Wood Herald versus Benjamin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I will say, I do think if they ever added in another spot of replay, logistically, I think they could make the state semifinals work. I think there are enough big stadiums. Possibly, but that would be a stretch. I would say the state semifinals are the only other round they could ever do it in.
Because here's the other thing, and this is one of the low-key important things about having central site state championship games, which again we'll debate on another time as far as where the game should be played, because it is the off-season. But the coaches don't decide where they play. The coaches are told where they play. For the only time in the playoffs, they are told where they play. And as a result, the UIL can set up the things that they need for instant replay to happen. Remember, state semifinal rolls around and Llano ends up playing Coppell, then that means that Antonio Wiley and Matt Green are getting on the phone and debating and figuring
honestly,
out where they're playing. It could just end up anywhere, and you can't, I don't think you can ask coaches to consider, oh, by the way, these are technologically available, to
well, and that the way we can prove that is literally it happened this season when we didn't know where the state semifinal of Duncanville and Spring Westfield was going to be until Monday afternoon.
Yeah, Monday
because
afternoon.
they played the game on Saturday. They wanted, one of the potential host sites was NRG, and NRG had a Houston Texans game. So no offense to Duncanville and Spring Westfield, but the people at NRG were in no hurry to get that decided the game day of a Texans game. And so we didn't know until, it might have almost even been Tuesday morning. So there's just a legitimate example that happened 4 weeks ago.
Yep. Anyway.
It would be great. I wish they could.
I think we're all in favor of getting the call right, but it's just right now because of the scope of Texas high school football, it's just not feasible. I'd love for it to be down the line, find some sort of solution, but for now,
it is cool we get to have it at the state championship games, though. I do love that.
It is good.
I really do.
And I also, the other thing I like about that, if you were there at the state championship games, you see that on the big board they just put up, was it DV Sport? They just put up the DV Sport multi-cam thing.
So you're seeing exactly what the ref is seeing when he's looking in the
and they'll
machine.
go frame by frame and stuff like that and slow it down.
Slow-mo.
So, yeah, exactly. So you will be, and it's it's 16 different cameras, every camera they have of being able to get the shot that they need. So it is interesting. I'm glad they do that because I think that's the most transparent way to do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think sometimes you go to college stadiums or NFL stadiums or stuff like that, and if obviously there's a neutral site, but if it doesn't favor the home team,
then they will play it once because they have to basically, and then that's it.
Oh no, we're not going to show it anymore.
Yeah.
But then if you go and it's if North Texas, for example, if North Texas it recovers a fumble, but they rule it down by contact, and then they show it, and
then
it's
they
very
play
clearly
it
a fumble
800 times
over and over,
so the crowd gets louder every
on, the
single
ball
time.
being out and him still being up, and because they want to get the reaction.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I think that is the best way to do it, to be fully transparent.
So the answer is we wish it's not going to happen, but we agree with you, sir.
It's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbells. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please meet your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow. Texas Football Today.